want to talk to you about all the backlash, but first, can you just for a rundown, folks don't know, 316 stores have filed to unionize. 316 Starbucks have filed to unionize in 36 states. Dozens of elections are underway. Even though Starbucks has an aggressive anti-union campaign and is like, we give you Spotify. Here's free Spotify. That's just something I saw at a Starbucks, and I was like, I can't believe that's a perk.
That's what they say is the top thing that Starbucks partners value as a benefit is the free Spotify. And, free Spotify doesn't actually put groceries in your fridge, but yeah.
But like you can like rock out while you're, eating ramen again. For the third night in a row. And so far 207 Starbucks stores in 33 states have actually won those elections. So that's good odds. Just 44 stores have lost an election. And you were in Buffalo, patient zero of this movement, and I want to ask, like, how was this a different kind of union drive? How was this worker led versus I think what we've often seen and in a sector that I think had been largely forgotten by mainstream union movements?
So I want to say, I don't think that it was fundamentally that different from a lot of other union campaigns. I do think that it got a lot of notoriety very quickly because both of, it was Starbucks. It was something that, so many people across the whole country are going to every day where, most people are familiar with Starbucks baristas. We're very visible, green apron is kind of synonymous with like going to a coffee shop. And also because, our corporation decided that instead of doing the smart thing and, signing the fair election principles and saying like, okay, we might not have liked this, but we're a progressive kind of company. Like, tell us what you want. Let's talk. Howard Schultz, the CEO, decided to do things like come to Buffalo to give us speeches about how the Holocaust meant that we shouldn't unionize, where he compared Starbucks benefits to Holocaust prisoners sharing their blankets and tried to draw this whole analogy and actually, turned people who had been more on the fence towards like, okay, if this dude is talking about the Holocaust, maybe I'm going to vote yes.
I can't even tell you, I got to say, how many times we played that clip on the Majority Report, because it really was, I've never seen such a level of like lacking self-awareness. And that was everyone else's reaction in the room as well, pretty much.
Howard had run for president before and, gotten some Twitter backlash. But his defense of that anecdote was that he had done it, he'd said it before. And in fact, the title of chapter 20 of his book that he wrote while running for president is Share Your Blanket, where he talks about, going to Appalachia with J.D. Vance, of all people, and like learning about, the bootstrap mentality and how, Starbucks could open stores and help rescue people, etc. So a deep legacy
this
there.
Is an active, I'm sorry, we'll insert this in post, but this is an active comparison of baristas and workers in his stores to people suffering under Nazism and like in what ghettos and work camps during the Holocaust, and being like, they shared, why can't you share?
Exactly.
Oh no, we lost Jaz. It was too real.
Oh my gosh. Right. It must have been the powers that be shutting
her back. I love that. Band. I love when a CEO is that fucking tone deaf. It's almost endearing.
Yeah. You're like, oh, you're just a child. So you're just a rich baby. You're boss baby. And you might be the boss, but you're still a baby. Hey.
Sorry about the technical difficulties.
All good.
No worries. It's the name of the day. But yeah, so that actually, right, a lot of these anti-union efforts only further galvanize workers to understand that, hey, maybe we do want to vote yes on this.
Exactly. I think, Howard Schultz was kind of a big example of that because, the man has $4.8 billion, could buy a lot of blankets. He was also, on the short list to be Hillary Clinton's Secretary of Labor had she won in 2016. And Melody Hobson, who's the chair of the Starbucks board of directors, is making her fortune from union pension funds, which are a major investor in Ariel Investments, which is the company that she runs. And she is like hosting dinner parties with Obama and Oprah, and these people aren't paying a consequence for what they've done. Now, I think that could change, and I think that's how we win, is when people start, making it as socially unacceptable to union bust as to do all of the other, socially questionable things. Like when Starbucks had, racist managers kicking, Black customers out of stores. They shut down all the stores across the country for training on like how to avoid having that happen again. So they do actually know how to say, okay, we screwed up. We're going to close all our stores and say, we're not going to do that anymore. They can do that and say, Howard, you're not going to make Holocaust comparisons, or say that you're being assaulted by unions anymore. And also all these, other managers that have been slashing people's hours or writing them up for, wearing jeans that are too light, or writing in the daily records book with the wrong color pen. That's not acceptable behavior anymore, because it's been encouraged. And now they have to have an about face, and, the public's got to help us get them there.
Yeah. And I think I've seen you speak about, the visibility, as you're saying, of baristas, and the frequency with which people will go to their Starbucks. It was helpful. Whereas, like, a lot of workers are sort of like behind closed doors, not as, and it's ironically, considering how much the retail sector there's been a lack of union effort by a lot of, of mainstream unions, and it was seen as too difficult, too much turnover, whatever the rationale. The one thing that I think retail has going for it is that interface with customers, with people who are also just like them.
And to your point, I know we've lost her, but I do think that there is and I'm forgetting exactly who said it, but a fetishization of union workers of the past, where, hey, you can't be in bad working conditions if you're working in a customer's here. Jaz is back, but I was just making this point that I think that sometimes people who are trying to union bust without saying they're union bust will make some sort of distinction and say, well, service work is not like the coal mines. Like, it's not as difficult as getting black lung, and hey, there are still coal miners out there who also deserve union protections as well. But I digress.
Warrior Met strikers got to win too.
100%.
Yes.
But they will use that as a way to downplay union efforts in places like Starbucks or Trader Joe's. And the reality is that, no, this is the economy that we created when we offshored all of those other kinds of jobs due to multilateral trade deals. And we essentially have created a service economy, and these are the jobs. So then you can't use that as an excuse to then say, well, we won't give you the same protections as the jobs that we shipped elsewhere.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that's something too that isn't unique to this industry. That's what we're seeing today. But when, our union was actually, founded by garment workers who were told the same things about the kind of work they were doing. It was women's work. It wasn't skilled work. It was piece rate. It was little independent sweatshops that were all conspiring with each other, obviously, to keep conditions bad and wages low. But, it was this informal economy, and they were told the same things. And, they founded our union and achieved 100% union density in this industry that had been considered unorganizable. And now 100 years later, I'd like to think that we're carrying on that legacy.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.